Hello, I am Colette, and welcome to What's the Word, in today's edition of Events in African American History for March 1st. In 1739, the British are forced to sign a peace treaty with Maroons and escaped slave societies in Jamaica. In 1780, Pennsylvania becomes the first state to abolish slavery. In 1864, Rebecca Lee graduates from the New England Female Medical College. She, along with Rebecca Cole and Susan McKinney, is one of the first African American female physicians. In 1867, Howard University in Washington, D.C. is chartered. In 1871, J. Milton Turner named minister to Liberia and became the first black diplomat accredited to an African country. James W. Mason was named minister in March 1870, but never traveled to his post. In 1875, Civil Rights Bill is enacted by Congress. The bill gave blacks the right to equal treatment in inns, public conveyances, theaters, and other places of public amusement. It will be overturned by the Supreme Court in 1883. In 1892, the pastry fork was invented by Miss Anna M. Mangan. In 1898, B.F. Jackson receives a patent for the heating apparatus. In 1925, on this day, Survey Graphic published a special issue titled Harlem Mecca, the New Negro. By the end of the year, editor Elaine Locke had reprinted and expanded upon the writings from this issue, producing a full-length anthology of African American writing called The New Negro. This anthology, known as the Manifesto of the Harlem Renaissance, included works by established figures such as James Weldon Johnson, William Stanley Braithwaite, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Claude McKay. In 1949, Joe Louis retired as heavyweight boxing champion, after holding the title for a record 11 years and 8 months. In 1960, Alabama State Board of Education expelled 9 Alabama State students for participating in sit-in demonstrations. In 1960, the Associated Press reported that more than 1,000 blacks had been arrested in sit-in demonstrations. In 1960, 4 national chain stores announced on October 17th that counters in about 150 stores in 112 cities in North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, Texas, Tennessee, Missouri, Maryland, Florida, and Oklahoma had been integrated. In 1960, Montgomery, Alabama police broke up protest demonstration on Alabama State campus and arrested 35 students, a teacher, and her husband. In 1960, police used tear gas to break up student protest demonstrations at Tallahassee, Florida. In 1960, Pope John elevated Bishop Laurian Rugambwa of Tanganyika to a College of Cardinals, the first black cardinal in the modern era. In 1960, San Antonio, Texas became the first major southern city to integrate lunch counters. In 1960 through the 30th, 1,000 Alabama State students marched on the state capitol and held protest meetings. In 1963, Air Force Captain Edward J. Dwight Jr. named to 4th class of aerospace research pilots at Edwards Air Base and became the first black astronaut candidate. He was dropped from the program in 1965. In 1963, Carl T. Rowan is named Ambassador of Finland. In 1963 through the 30th, the Emancipation Centennial protest began with voter registration campaign in Greenwood, Mississippi. In 1967, U.S. House of Representatives expelled Representative Adam Clayton Powell, Jr. by a vote of 307 to 116. Civil rights leaders said Powell was ousted because of his race. In 1971, Defense Department limited electronic surveillance after disclosure of, quote, Civil Disturbance Information Collection Plan, end quote, which directed the gathering of information on civil rights groups. In 1979, the New York Times comments on findings of archaeologist Bruce Williams at Quetzal. Evidence leads many to believe that Tusseti, most ancient Nubia, developed the world's first divine kingship, monarchy, which then traveled up the Nile to Egypt. In 2002, Miss District of Columbia Shantae Hinton is crowned Miss USA. Thanks for joining us today, and tune in tomorrow for another edition of What's the Words? Events in African American History.